Hello, this is Sarah Ryley, and I am here to talk about my change intervention plan. Very first thing I want to go over is how we promote a positive culture throughout Frederick County Public Schools and MIMS, which is Middletown Middle. We have different components such as the accelerated learning process, which focuses on collaboration, school improvement process, also collaboration and using data to drive our different goals for the school, and then the Danielson framework for teaching, which is the system-wide rubric for teacher evaluations and observations. It allows for reflection and for improvement. Middletown Middle School, we have in character counts, which I consider an internal motivator because it is something that students are nominated by teachers for, and so they don't know it's coming. It's something that is genuine to who they are. Honor roll is an external motivator, as Daniel Pink talks about, taking French class, being, there's two different types of learning. Do you want to get an A? I want to get an A in French, or I want to learn how to speak the French language. Honor roll is external, because you have to get certain letter grades in order to achieve that. We also have blended learning model, which is a blend between special education teachers and general education teachers, ensuring that there's equitable instruction for all students within the classroom that is based off data, formal and informal, and it changes daily and weekly within the classroom. We also have restorative practices, which isn't quite initiated into MIMS yet, which is the focus of my change intervention plan. So first, how do we assess the culture? We have school climate surveys that FCPS gives out to parents and students and teachers. Then Middletown Middle School, we have student perceptual surveys that we create every year, asking them how they feel about the climate of the school and different components of their daily interactions in school. We also have principal chats that we facilitate throughout the year, and we use data from our absences, our demographics, and our specific student groups to drive our SIP team's goals. Power and influence. Lots of power and influence from various stakeholders. It's just some examples that I talked about in my paper here is parent-teacher organizations, obviously is a huge one. SECAC, which is the Special Education Committee. Parents that have students with special needs get together and they facilitate different family nights and activities and things to help the new parents and seasoned parents and bring FCPS together to create equitable education. We had the Police Activity League, Blessings in a Backpack, and the Housing Authority of the City of Frederick all work mostly with, throughout the schools to ensure that the students are, again, receiving the best education possible with the best resources. Middletown Middle School, we have parents. They are huge influencers in our school building, principal, team leaders. We have very low teacher turnover, so we have a lot of seasoned teachers that are there and understand the families at Middletown Middle and our students. We allow our students to have, I think, a nice size voice in how they receive their education and how they feel about their education at Middletown Middle School. For the next part, manage the organization. So I have come up with this statement: no student will be removed from class for nonviolent misbehavior. And the data here at the bottom is from the Maryland State Department of Education public school suspension information, and you can see here that in 2018 to 2019 school year, Middletown Middle had 22 total suspensions. 20 of them were because of disrespect and disruption from the classroom. I also put FCPS here as a whole, and you can also note the large amount of suspensions in that category from there as a whole. So what are the steps? I have 10 steps here that I took from Les Robinson. Thought that he had a really good template for initiating change. Grab the attention of the teachers. Who wants to teach in an entire class without any unnecessary disruptions? Introduce an inviter, somebody that the parents and teachers know and trust. Use a hook. I have my own personal story of how I learned to seek first to understand my student with significant undesirable behaviors, and how we work together to discuss the need for change. And at the end of the year, his disruption significantly decreased, and my classroom was the place that he wanted to be most. That is what I want to facilitate at Middletown Middle School. So sketch the problem. Talked about suspensions, and my vision is start small and roll out slowly. Number 6, explain how the project will work. We'll have faculty meetings, breakout groups, model teachers, collaboration. Expanding the comfort zones, restorative practices is an opportunity to better understand our students and families. Entice. Seek first to understand. Request a sign of approval is the 9th step. Who wants to enhance their classroom management skills to lower the challenging behaviors in their classrooms? Is what I will call out to the team of my Brains Trust. Make the call to action is the last step. Together we can create an inviting community for our students. Manage operations. My action plan. If we create a professional learning opportunity for our teachers, and if we implement the use of restorative circles, and if we implement the use of effective language, and if we seek first to understand our students, and if we work as a group to keep the students in the classroom, then there will be less classroom disruptions and disrespect, which will ultimately lead to less referrals and suspensions for the entire school. So how are we going to roll that out? Basic plan here, ebb and flow, with all the teachers and the faculty. School-wide faculty meeting with an introduction of restorative practice circles and affirmative statements. Then we'll break out within that first month and meet in groups with our teacher models. So those teacher models are, maybe it's somebody from the administrative team, maybe it's a teacher specialist, maybe it's teachers who have already been trained in restorative practices and want to help facilitate the change. That's the first month. And the next month, we'll come back to another faculty meeting and have the teachers provide feedback, and then introduce the restorative questions and informal conferences portion of restorative practices. Again, we'll go back and meet in small groups, discuss and practice new skills. The third month, begin implementation of restorative practices into the classroom. And then, this is bottom of the list because this is facilitated more by administration, but teachers should be a part of the reintegration procedures and the conferences in order to repair the harm that the student or the teacher or whoever is the person who caused the harm. Teachers, students, faculty, community members will all participate in the conference to repair that harm. So here at MIMS, we will fully implement the use of restorative practices in all classrooms, given the professional learning required to obtain the skills needed to ensure that our students feel welcomed, supported, and accepted. Creating positive working relationships between the students and staff will diminish undesired behaviors and focus on the continuation of constantly improving the overall climate of our school to make certain our students are thriving socially, emotionally, and academically. Collaborate with families and other community members. Families, how are we going to get them involved? Emails, newsletters, websites. Create a family involvement committee for implementing restorative practices within the school. Use PTA meetings to communicate the change that's going to happen. Use parent-teacher conferences. solicit input from families and involve them in a communication plan. Those families who are more involved in our school can be the ones to help disperse this information out to those who are less involved, and hopefully get the less involved families more involved. We also use businesses as role models and work with families to bring awareness. We can use political entities like school resource officers, PPWs, and CAS workers. They can be inviters in this change, help bring the school and family relationships closer. They can also create a buzz or sense of urgency because they're out in the community, and they can talk up this restorative practice and the change that we're trying to seek here at Middletown Middle. Service organizations, they can provide the learning experiences for students and families, and even the faculty. All stakeholders are involved in the restorative justice portion of restorative practices, which is the conferences that happen to repair the harm. So understanding the larger contexts. Here's the impact of restorative practices. Short term, there will be resistance. It'll roll out in phases. We'll have to acknowledge the small success of our teachers and students and the community. Use of effective statements daily and restorative restorative circles weekly at least within the classrooms. If all that happens, moving into the long term, this is something we'll see within, not right away, maybe not even a couple of months, year, 2 years, 3 years even. Long-term effects impact is less referrals, less suspensions. Students feel respected and their voices, actually matter. And their mistakes are not punished as failures, but seen as opportunities to grow. So adding short-term and long-term creates the cultural change. We have restorative justice. Students are part of the solution. We repair harm, and all stakeholders are involved in conferences, and it's not more of a student, teacher, admin, he said, she said situation. So in reflection, my experience is that there's many components to creating change. We must bring a sense of urgency and hope and create a brain stress that will really get the change happening. My insight that I've learned is, as a principal, you need to be a lead learner. You, the principal, and whoever is that brain stress group, they have to be walking models of the change we wish to seek in the school. Have to understand the moral purpose of the system, as Michael Fullan stated in his book. Understand that change is necessary, and building relationships is the foundation of any sort of change. What I've learned, creating cultural change takes time. Do not rush it. If you rush it, you risk losing what you've gained. Create an enabling environment, not just for the teachers that will facilitate this restorative practice, this change in Middletown, but also for the students and community members and their families. Maintain integrity. It's what you do when no one's looking that really matters. Do what is best in the interest of the students. Students are number one. It's the reason why we're in our job, and we have to think of them first, even if it makes teachers and faculty members uncomfortable. And there's my reference list. Thank you for listening.